Hello YouTube, it's been another exciting week in tech and as exciting it was from last time where Facebook crashed, this time it's some good news. Apple reached $1 trillion. So I wanted to create an homage to my favorite entrepreneur Steve Jobs and create the journey from zero to hero for Apple. So here we go. So Apple timeline. So it's been an interesting journey from December 1980 from 3.5 to 530 trillion dollars. So let us hear how we got there.
Apple just became the world's first trillion-dollar company. Here's how it got there. Back in December 12, 1980, Apple first listed on the stock market, selling 4.6 million shares for $22 apiece. In other words, it was worth 1/10,000th of what it is today. Things went well for a while, but by 1985, Steve Jobs was forced out by CEO John Sculley in a power struggle. 10 years later, the company's sales peaked at just over $11 billion and started to slump as competition from Microsoft and other companies bid into its share. 2 years later, Steve Jobs was brought back and the company bought his next computer company. The turnaround wasn't immediate for its share price, though. First, this had to happen.
iMac, iBook, iPod.
It was in 2001 that Steve Jobs introduced one of the company's most iconic and successful products ever, the iPod. A couple of years later, the company expanded into music with the launch of its iTunes store, and its valuation began climbing. Then comes the big one.
An iPod. A phone. Are you getting it?
The iPhone was introduced on January 9, 2007, and it has been the key to the company's rise to $1 trillion in market value. But we'll get back to that in a second.
And we call it...
3 years later came the iPad. That was Steve Jobs' last major product announcement before his retirement and death a year later in 2011. Despite concerns about how the company would fare without its founder, Steve Jobs, the share price continued to rise for a while. That was until the iPad and the iPhone began to lose their shine. So in September 2014, the company launched its first two oversized phones, the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, and they were a big hit, including in China. Sales rose to $155 billion for the devices, and the shares continued their climb. Then in 2016 came another dip for the share price, when quarterly profit dipped by 27% after a slowdown in iPhone sales. But then, just like in 2014, a new iPhone rode in to save the day, the iPhone X. It lifted the average selling price of iPhones to a new record and also the share price. Now let's jump to just 3 months ago. With concerns mounting about how well the iPhone X was selling, the company announced a massive $100 billion buyback program. 3 months later, the company reported excellent third-quarter results. And now with excitement mounting over the newest devices to be unveiled in September, the company's market value has crossed the $1 trillion mark. But excitement about new phones can always backfire, so investors will be looking to what else Apple has to propel its value past $1 trillion. Maybe Apple has one more thing waiting for us.
So what does Apple have? It's one more thing. In September, we'll find out. But before we get there, as we all know, YBR is all about numbers. We hear the headline, we don't trust the headline, and we go into the numbers to hear the real story. So you came here to hear the real story of Apple, and here we go. So this is the Q3 result that just came out in last month, and we're gonna talk about the revenue, and we're gonna talk about the drivers of revenue, aka the products. So as you can see, the revenue from a year over year was up 17% from 45 billion to 53 billion, but the thing I saw that concerned me was the momentum, aka the sequential change, that is the quarter on quarter change. It went from 61 billion to 53 billion, and what I'm seeing across all geographies, Americas, it's flat. Europe, it's gone down. China, that's the growth market, is down 27%. Okay, Japan down 29%. Rest of Asia down 20%. So I'm seeing a trend, as you guys have saw from my last video, is that Asia, which was supposed to be the great tech savior where all the growth is going to be, is not panning out as we all thought. So what we were told the story was, this happened in America. You saw us grow from X to Z, and we're a 100 billion, $200 billion revenue company. And look at the growth in Asia, and we're going to achieve the same thing. It started, but I think the depth is not there in Asia, which has the depth in Americas, where 90% of the population can afford a smartphone. In Asia, maybe 10% of the population can afford a smartphone. So the rate is slowing down because you hit that peak market very soon. So maybe this is the story of the peak market. We don't know. We will see. Uh, this is an interesting trend to look at. So let's go down into the product summary. So 41 million units of iPhone, 11 million units of iPad, 3 million units of Mac. Same story year on year, from 45 million billion dollars to 53 billion dollars. But if you look at the sequential change, aka the momentum, product wise, it's gone down. So you'll be like, why is the stock price going up? So the story that came out from Apple's latest earning was that they were able to get a revenue uplift because they were able to sell more high priced iPhone 10s. And what the market is baking in September, they have an ace up their sleeve. So in September, it's going to be a very interesting story. If they have an ace up their sleeve, the stock's going to go up, up, up. If not, then we're going to get a repeat of Facebook. So depending on your risk ability and the belief in Tim Cook, if it was Steve Jobs, yeah, I'll be buying Apple left and right. Tim Cook looks more like a corporate guy, not a visionary, so we shall see. I'm holding off on Apple, buying Apple or shorting Apple. I'm just curious, so I'm just gonna stay off because I don't have very strong conviction because I believe in Steve Jobs, and maybe his legacy can continue. So, one thing I really noticed, I think that I would like to point out to our viewers is that the services revenue has been growing 31%, other products 37%. So, other products I'm not going to focus on too much because that's basically your peripherals, like your chargers, your uh, earphones, the AirPods or whatever they call that. Never understood that, but anyways, so that's not the growth segment. The growth segment is services. That is the iTunes, that is the music subscription, that is cloud storage. So is that where the company is going? Services is what Apple's going to be, and iPad, iPhone, and Mac is just something they sell to support those services. And is that why Tim Cook has been fighting Mark Zuckerberg and talking stuff about Facebook data policy and data usage because they want to be the new Facebook? Well, here's the numbers, here's the trend. Services, as you can see, is the growth industry and the growth place to be in Apple, whereas everything else seems to be falling down, especially the iPhone. So that's a concern for me. So let us see how the story continues in September. And and it's all about YBR and analysis. So hope you liked what you hear. This was a quick take on Apple, and please feel free to comment, subscribe to our channel, and let us know what else you like to hear because we are a user driven community, and that's what YBR is all about, uh, spreading the real information on technology, debunking the myths so the winners win and the fraud and losers lose. So hope you like what you hear, and please like and subscribe and let us know what else you want to see. Thank you.